Today's podcast is brought to you by StrongHeartAcademy.com, where no heart is no victory. We are also brought to you by BJJ To Go. If you want to build your game and learn jiu-jitsu, go to bjjtogo.com. Okay, so today I was going to talk about our cat that I inherited from dating my wife, and now we're married for a long time. I'll show you the picture, and then you can guess how old this cat is. I don't know where I'm putting the picture. Probably next to my head. Anyway, we got it in 2003. So it's almost like 20 years old. And the first problem, I was dating my wife, and she was living near ASU. She was going to school at ASU with her brothers, and she got this cat from a friend, but they didn't wean the cat. Like they when she was a kitten, they took her too early. So I think that was the first problem. The second problem is her brother had another cat that was like mean to her and the kitten. And for whatever reason, like the cat would try to use a litter box, and then the other cat would like chase her away. So she was like weird about the litter box, and I think it just like screwed her head up, and like that was it. Like she was set as a crazy ass cat. She's pretty. She's a Siamese cat. I didn't grow up with cats, so I never really was into cats. We grew up with dogs, but I think this is just the way it goes. Sometimes when you marry someone, you're stuck with their pets too. So, fast forward, she's moving out of her apartment. I said, "Hey, move in with me." I had a small house, and I had some roommates, and this cat pretty much just lived in our tiny little room and would barely come out. And then the litter box, she would like pee in the litter box, but she would poop next to the litter box. Like not in the litter box, next to the litter box. And it would drive me crazy. I mean, I was like, what is wrong with this cat? Like why won't it poop in the litter box? This is disgusting. Dogs are gross too, but they do all that stuff outside. And once they're potty trained, like you don't have to deal with it. And when you're in a small house and that litter box is just gross to me, I'll be honest, it was just nasty. And if especially if it didn't get cleaned, like she would poop, she's like, I'm not going in there. So I didn't clean it. It's not my animal. I relied on my wife to do all that, or my girlfriend at the time, but she's now my wife. So I never got into this cat. You would pet the cat, like, oh, she's pretty, like, it's a pet, and then she'd be like cool with it, and then she'd go, and she would just bite you. She's just a fucked up cat. I'll be honest with you. Like I'm trying to make friends with you, and then she would just like bite you. She's bitten so many people. One time, we went out of town, and my aunt and my mom came over, and they were going to feed the cat. And my aunt, she has lots of cats, and she's always had cats. She's a cat person. So she was like, oh, I'll pet the cat. Oh, nice cute little kitty. She got bit, and I think her hand got infected too. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. This cat is just only likes my wife, and even that, I think it's like a tentative. And cats are weird like that. They're like, I tolerate you. So I've just never been into them, because dogs would like die for you. Cats will eat you when you're dead. So, or they just feel like they're waiting for you to die. And if they were big enough, they would just kill you. If they're big as a lion, they would just eat you anyway, because they like killing things. So, so she bit my aunt, and then, we were living there for a while, and then, one day I was trying to be romantic, and I had these candles lit in our bedroom. I'm trying to put the mood in, and my wife was like laying on the bed, and I won't get too into it, and I like go into the bedroom, and I like just try to do this cool move and like close the door behind me, and the cat ran tried to make it out the door as I closed the door. And I just like slammed it like that. And the cat just like perfectly ran, and its tail got stuck in the door. And it's like, wow. And it starts, I go, oh crap, I open the door. And then the cat starts running all over the place, and it's like squirting blood everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. I'm trying to, have a romantic time with my wife, and it's like, and I was lucky she didn't like, could have been worse. She could have like knocked over the candles and then lit the house on fire. And this is an old house I was living in, and oh man, it could have even been even worse. But is blood everywhere, and we had a little thing, so I got her in the carrier, and her tail was like broke, and you could see kind of the bone. Yeah, I felt bad. And, we were not on good terms, me and this cat. And I was like, forevermore, we will probably never be in good terms after this one. I don't know if I'm pretty sure they have grudges. I don't know. So we had to take it to like emergency room in the middle of the night. It was like midnight or later. And so that cost a fortune. They cut her tail. They had to amputate the tail. So now she has like a smaller tail, and she's actually a small cat too. Like she never got big, because I think they weaned her too early too. She's like the runt or whatever, so she's really tiny. And now she had a smaller tail, and my wife used to call her Tiny Tail. After that, it healed just fine. You can't even tell. It just looks a little shorter, and so that was like just craziness. Like I cut her tail off on accident, not on purpose. I would never do that. I don't hurt animals, but it just was like insane. I'm like, I can't believe this scenario is happening right now. I can't believe I cut her tail off with the door. I'm like, this is, and what stupid animal tries to run through the door as I'm closing the door? Like it was like trapped or something, just trying to get out. I don't know. It was just trying to be romantic, close the door, and I don't think anyone else was at the house at the time. I think all my roommates moved out at that point, just me and her, and so I don't even know why I was closing the door, but whatever. And she lost her tail. So another time, she liked to eat grass, and she got a hold of some of my wife's yarn. And I come into the room, and she's like, meow, meow. I'm like, what is wrong with you? She had like yarn stuck out of her butt. Like she was pooping this thing out. And I'm like, I'm not. And I was like, told my wife, I'm like, Carly, I'm not pulling that out. So my wife had to pull out the like yarn out of her butt. It was so disgusting. And it was like pretty darn long. I'm surprised it didn't like, I don't know, do something to her intestine, kill her. She's just a hard cat. She's just, man, that cat won't die. I'm pretty sure it's going to live forever. I'm always thinking like, oh, this is the year. And no, she just keeps trucking along. And now she's like always barfing on stuff too. I mean, she does. Good news is she doesn't rip things up. So she's never ripped things up. We don't declaw her. She has her claws. So that's good news. She's never destroyed. Oh, that's not true. Actually, we had furniture that was like my mom got us. It was like wicker, kind of. And man, she scratched all that up. Actually, she destroyed our dresser. It was like weird dresser that had like twine almost around it on the legs. And actually up it too. It's almost kind of like tweed or whatever. And she was like, she just destroyed that. There are new dressers that we got after that. She didn't destroy that, but for the most part, she hasn't destroyed a lot of stuff. I guess that was just like, oh, I think that's a scratch pad post. And she just, destroyed it. And so, she's still around. She barely, and then when we had dogs, she would never, ever leave the bedroom. She would like sneak out at night to get her food or water or poop or whatever, and then go back to her bedroom. We had friends over last week. We were watching the flow grappling, and I was talking about the cat, and he was like, you have a cat? I've never seen a cat. I'm like, oh, if there's people here, she will not come out. She's like a ninja. She's just hiding in the shadows somewhere. Um, you won't see this. You won't see her. And then the last couple of years, she's gotten kind of crazy. Like she's kind of losing it. In the morning, when my wife gets out of bed, she takes the kids to school, lets me sleep in, which is awesome. She'll start whining, and and it'll be like wah, wah, and she wanted we call it kitty fort. So on the bed where my wife was sleeping, we'll make pillows and put like a blanket over the header, so it's like a lean-to tent, and the cat will like sleep in there. So every morning I have to make this stupid kitty fort, we call it, so the cat can sleep in this thing. It's just a pain in the ass. And she'll also now like stare at things that aren't there and stare at the ceiling fan, because I think she's starting to lose it. And she'll also now start chasing her tail like a dog, and she'll growl at her tail, and her tail will like flip, and she like looks at it like, what is that? I'm like, that's her tail. And she'll like try to slap it and then grab it, and she'll start growling like a dog, like and growl and start chasing her tail. I should take another video of it. I took it once and then I got rid of it, and then I would show you guys what I'm talking about. But I'm like, I think, she'll start looking at it too, start growling, like it was like it's not attached to her. I wonder if like she lost some of the feeling in her tail, and it just kind of like it looks like it just kind of like hits her and does its own thing now. I don't know what kind of nerve damage. When we cut her tail, the tail cut off like, I mean, more than like 10 years ago, maybe more than that. And she never had a problem. Only the last 2 years maybe she starts doing this. And recently she actually started calming down, but last night she started doing it again. It's the strangest thing. Like, it's like a demon cat. I'm all like, am I going to wake up in the middle of the night and the cat's going to like bite my neck? And I'm going to have to like fight this cat and then explain to my wife, no, I had to kill the cat. It was like trying to kill me. And she's going to be like, yeah, right. You've always hated LaLa. And that's her name, LaLa. Yeah. And I keep thinking, oh man, I'll tell people like, oh man, the cat's like 20 years old. And all my friends that love cats like, oh, you might get a couple more years. She might live to like 23. I'm like, 23, jeez. I don't want to do 3 more years of this cat. And my wife's going to be devastated when this cat dies. It's not going to be pretty. She wants to get another cat, and I want a dog. I want another dog. She's like, I don't want dogs, or they eat their own poop. I'm like, well, don't look at them doing that. I don't know. It's outside. We have a big backyard, so the dog would have tons of room to run and play and all this stuff. I get it. They're destructive too. Dogs can be destructive, but they're just more lovable than cats. And depending on the type of dog, I'm never worried it's going to try to kill me. I've never had any dogs that are like vicious. Some people like, my grandpa used to have, all my grandfather's dogs were like vicious. I mean, all of them were vicious. He get chows. Chows are some of the meanest dogs ever. I don't know if they were like a Chinese guard dog or whatever. But they're mean ass dogs. And I've never had mean dogs. I've always had like lovable dogs. So we'll see how that goes down. And my son wanted a dog. Like last year, he kind of wanted a dog, and I looked, and during the pandemic, it was like you couldn't get dogs because everyone was lonely and stuck at home, so they needed a dog. I heard these losers, these idiots, like now turned all their dogs back into the pound again. Like you couldn't get them at the pound even. And but I heard like these just piece of trash people like didn't keep their dogs. They're like, okay, I'm back into society. I'm going to take the dog back to the pound. It's such a irresponsible turd thing to do. But we'll see if we end up with a cat and a dog, a new one. But that's the thing with cats too, is like I've seen friends that have like really cool cats, and I would love to have a cool cat, But I'm like, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's like puppies, you can kind of tell what they're gonna be when you get them. Um, but I feel like cats, you just don't know. It's like a roll of the dice. This is gonna be a good cat, a bad cat, and then you're stuck with this animal for years and years. I mean, you could just take him to the pound. I feel like once you've made that decision, you have to honor that life and take care of that life, no matter if it's a terrible life or not. Like just a bad animal. But I don't feel like you should just give them up or get rid of them unless you're moving in some like you can't afford it or something like. But even then, you shouldn't have done it in the first place if you can't afford food for an animal. I just never looked highly on people that did that. I always thought that was pretty cheesy and lame, and you shouldn't do that. But we'll see how the cat situation plays out. She pukes a lot now. Oh, and she been pooping in random places. We have to close our walk-in closet because she'll get in there and poop. She used to poop on my wife's shoes too. I don't know what that's all about. But I'm like, and we found the cat was pooping under my son's bed. I would go in my son's room. I'm like, what is the stank in here? And I'm looking everywhere. I finally look under the bed, and she was like, there was like stuff under there, but she was like going behind that stuff and then just pooping. And there was like a ton of poop there. I'm like, this is not healthy. This is not good. And I wanted to kill the cat right then and there. Like, I'm not gonna get my son sick because you're an idiot. So we had to clean all that up. So now I close all those doors. She stopped doing that. I don't know what that was all about. But sometimes we'll still randomly find cat poop in the house. I'm like, this is so gross. Luckily she's not peeing. If she's peeing, I would like, this is it. Like, because that'll ruin your floors actually. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But like she's never done that. I don't know what her deal is. I think she needs kitty Prozac or something. So yeah, I always tell people, and they always look at me strange, like, man, you don't want your cat? Like, it's not really my cat. I didn't make that decision. But yeah, I can't wait until she's no more, and that sounds terrible too. And she's a beautiful cat. She's very pretty. But it's like having a beautiful wife that's a terrible human being. It's like, yeah, that's nice, you're pretty, but you're a pain in the butt, luckily I don't have that. I just have a beautiful and awesome wife, but just a terrible cat that I got in the deal. It's still worth it. It was still a good trade, to get my wife, but I had to take along her terrible animal. But we're still stuck with this thing. So we'll see how that goes down. The dogs the one dog lasted 13 years. The other one lasted 9 years. And, one of my dogs was pretty special too. I had a Dotson, and he only had one nut, and he was a dapple, and he looked all weird, and he was a mini Dotson dapple. It was like this big. So I had a weird animal too, and he wasn't, I guess, the greatest, but still not as bad as the dog or the cat. The cat was terrible, just terrible. She still is terrible, and every once in a while I go, oh, I'll pet her. I'll just try to make friends, and she'll like and bite me or claw me. Fuck you. So it's like having a bad roommate, and you're just stuck with them, and they're like just spooching off you. You gotta feed them, take care of them, and you get nothing out of the deal, like not even friendship. So, but responsibilities, I believe in responsibilities, and even when it's inconvenient, you gotta see that through. So many people are just so quick to just back out of responsibility. So I think it's even good for my kids to understand that, like, to know, like, look, if you have pets, like, that's a responsibility, and you got to see it through the end. And you would like that if you're a human too, that someone would take care of you when you're not all there anymore. That someone would have compassion for you. And again, I bitch and complain, but I still take care of it. My wife does most of it, but if I find cat puke, I'll clean it up. man, it's like a pain in my butt for sure. I'm not a fan of it, and I guess it could be worse. It could be like a dog chewing up cords and shoes and those type of things. I've never had a dog that really destroyed a lot of stuff, so I guess that could be worse. We are tortoises. Our tortoises are so easy. They just kind of walk around, and I had to build some stuff for them, but other than that, they're not that hard to feed. They're not hard to take care of. They'll never try to bite me. They live outside. That's nice too. So, but anyway, that was all was it today. I was just going to talk about my weirdo cat. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe, share, comment. Tell me if you have an awesome cat. If you're a cat person, you're a dog person, you like cats, you hate cats. Let me know in the comments. And that's it. Peace out.
Let me talk for just a second, help me feel that sense of rhythm. Find the meanings in our bearings and discover this position as a stage along the way. Another rung to the ladder, either stalling or you're climbing, and I'd rather be the latter. Instead of getting fatter, let the footsteps resume naturally.